manager, we were doing some visits at the bus shelters, bus stops, and talking to passengers about their experience with CAT. And there was a particular location that we visited that I mentioned to Eric at the Walmart, where there are two shelters on inner parcel access road. There's McDonald's and Walmart, so there's nothing historic there. We don't also have that layer of consideration, but it seems like it might be a really good place for a good start. So Eric's doing a little perhaps background work on what we might need to get something going.
That'd be cool. Can you tell me more about the panelists behind the glass perforated metal? How does that work?
The operators, and there should be pictures in the presentation. Basically, the operators prefer that they can see through the walls, so they can know if there's customers at the shelter. Right now, we use perforated metal.
The green metal, sort of on the back.
Most of our shelters. So it'd be the same thing. So basically, the image would be printed on those walls, like they do. Those images are actually from our shelter provider, of other agencies that have done this. So it's the same type of shelters that we use. Aside from the glass ones, I don't believe we have the glass ones in place.
I think it would be, and maybe that's not necessarily in this, but we might want to have some sort of like, here's where to go to print that, you know, because I'm not sure, like, would I get that printed at Creative Approach? Could I have that done locally? You know, I think sort of here's the best standards for having that done. Yeah, I think a lot of folks would be very interested, but have no idea where to start.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of agencies, and after we've been off a while, they put up a list of the recommendations for who they should go to get it installed.
So the way it would sort of work is I've got my neighborhood association wants to install one of these. We find an artist, we get a design, we go through all this, and then we would have the design to be sent away and then returned, and we have a large piece of metal that we ship here to install.
Yeah, the company for the agency I've been talking to in Milwaukee, actually, the company produces our work and installs it.
Cool. Do you have any idea on how much that is?
For them, I think it's about $1,000.
That's cool. That's great price.
Yeah, it's not anything that's so
No,
average.
can I buy one? Good I know is that do we need to have any sort of like who can? Because I would totally like if this passes and you would
Yeah, file this.
totally do it.
Yeah, all right.
Like I would totally do that.
Cat wanted to do it for me.
I would just, yeah, I would also, I think this is such a good idea. And especially being able to start out in some of the areas that really need a lot of artwork, like between Walmart and McDonald's. That's probably where we should start. I think we almost expected that this would start sort of from the downtown area going out, but it would be very cool to start in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and that would be Cat's thing, basically, is the promotion that this policy exists and with my assistance of board members.
I think it could start.
Get the word out.
Where you're not likely to generate right off the bat, something that's a little more controversial or whatever, but just sort of get it done. You see it and go, oh, okay.
That's
Now
cool.
I understand, yeah. And then they desire, they can, think about where else it might fit. That's a good way to start.
But I just want to make sure, because if we as a board vote on this, then it's like it's a real thing, right? Okay, so then I would imagine that what did you get? Yeah, we want to have some information pretty early as to like, all right, I've got some groups that I'm gonna email and have them contact you guys soon. Let's see, reason to
Well, we would do the typical promotional ways we get things out, newsletters, press releases, website, social media, of course. So get picked up on this store, would definitely get picked up.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'd be so popular, spread pretty quickly, without much effort. But yeah, we can shoot off to neighborhood associations.
there is a
Artist groups.
Are there any grants out there, and can we try to like Cat already has like a adopt a spot? Can we try that? this budget?
I might have, there is a grant from the city's, cultural affairs called the Leave a Dream Grant. It's an up to $5 grand matching grant, so we have a project. Yeah, it's $5,000 matching grant. And that would work for this. Well, I think just again, having kind of like, if you're interested in doing this with CAT, here's a one sheet with where you get the stuff printed, here's some grants locally, and I think we could, so I also think we could do no more than just. It's not bad, because what are we doing?
There may also be some federal funds, but we should check on that. And I think that's a great thing to have a resource sheet that goes to anybody who's interested, so they can see what, where, how. All this.
The Weave a Dream grant has to be used in the city of Savannah. I know the commission you sit on, if I think it'd be cool if there was an arts grant opportunity from the county. That would be helpful with making this more possible for areas outside of the city of Savannah. The Weave a Dream grant that will not fund it if it's not the city. Which is still a huge amount of spots. And then something else, I may have been talking to somebody about this and they thought it was a cool idea, but could be years ago, honestly. Where are the bus stops? Which is there a map that we could look at that's where an organization could say, I'm interested in this bus stop here? Love it. Excited about
That could be part of the resource sheet that we provide.
Yeah, I
Here's
think that-
where, here's the how.
yeah, it's not a policy, but it's just helpful information.
Ariel has a new task.
Yeah, sorry. Very.
It's just a matter, I'm sure we have the list of where all our shelters are.
Yeah. But I was saying, put it with this resources sheet that all comes together, so if somebody's interested, here's your map too. And it puts on it, so.
Have y'all, maybe reached out to the Historic Sites and Monuments Commission?
I did, I talked to the staff.
Okay, great, because I know they'll be really excited about something like this.
They seem to think it would be a lot of support.
Oh, yeah.
Any issues
Oh, yeah.
with the application.
You know, it's interesting, there are cities that you go to where there aren't installations in town, sometimes it's statues, sometimes it's, but fun things that are sort of identified with the brand of a particular city. And they're fun kinds of things, that are like this, and so the notion that it becomes a part of CAT's, infrastructure, but it's something that is identified, when you come to Savannah, and you come to Chatham County, oh, did you see the one that had, whatever it was on it, it also becomes a part of that, all that thing about visiting here.
There's so many connections that
Very exciting.
programs like this can do.
It's very good. Well, thank you very much, Garrett. Great job on getting us to this point. What an exciting implementation it's going to be. The next thing is an item on passenger appreciation fare services. We recently did our employee appreciation event, and as we were planning and going through that, I had reached out to Ms. Ragland as our customer appreciation manager, and asked her to also look at and develop a passenger appreciation day. The proposal that's in your package is a part of that, and it includes a 4-day time frame. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that would cost, the cost of it would be somewhat less than $10,000, and would cover both fixed route and paratransit as we have it proposed. In addition to the other items that are on there. Before Ms. Ragland sort of goes through the details of that, I wanted to mention that yesterday, when we presented this or this was in one of the earlier committees, it was, we were asked to be sure to verify with the county, since they 100% pay for paratransit, the notion of forgiveness of paratransit fares for a limited period of time. And we are coordinating that now with the county manager. Don't have a response yet, but that is underway. So just Ms. Ragland, would you like to talk a little bit about this proposal?
Well, I think Director Eddie Sturry and Director Adams, that you all familiar with some of the things that we've done in the past for customer appreciation. And
I'm not super familiar.
really, you remember the days we used to do today we're gonna let students ride free, tomorrow we're gonna let veterans ride free, the next day we're gonna let somebody else ride free. Government employees, we did that for several years,
I
so.
don't know if my favorite color.
Really? You remember that, but this, we're cognizant of the budget and our budget processes. So instead of having passenger appreciation week, we could this to 4 days. And we feel like, especially now, as we are continuing to go through this pandemic and as cases are starting to rise again, we want to show our passengers that we really do appreciate them and then give new customers an opportunity to try transit without cost. So this is an ideal opportunity. We think it's a great time to offer this.
We're also doing some giveaways and, we're doing an ITC platform party. So there's some other components, promotional components. This is not just about the drive-through.
When is this?
It's June 3rd, yes.
Okay, so literally everything is happening June 3rd through 6th. So that's great. 'Cause I don't have to do it. That is also SCAD graduation.
Is it?
And, yeah, that's busy weekend. So that could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because there will be a lot of movement.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments?
We keep the same thing. It's students.
No, sir. This will be open to everyone on those 4 days.
I don't think I have questions for you. All right,
Thank you.
great. Thank you guys very much.
We will move into reports to committee here. Planning update, and before Ashley really goes through the report already in the packet, that I wanted to specifically mention where we are on the master transit plan. Part is out, it's live. We've got pre-bid meeting coming up. I want to take that opportunity to really reiterate, drive home what we are continuing to get out of this master plan. What an exciting opportunity for us. And I think that there's some key components of that are going to be especially valuable to us, both in terms of the financial side of implementation, but also just on the idea side, what we will do and so forth. So very exciting. We've also got a cast of folks who have agreed to serve on the selection panel in terms of evaluating proposals that include the county, the city. It includes our funding partners for the match for this grant that funded this, which includes SIGA as well as the airport. And then we've also asked the Savannah Tribune, and I'm trying to remember who else. I think that's most of the group to serve on the panel to help evaluate these proposals and make some recommendations on selection and interviews if those are necessary. So we are incredibly excited about that opportunity. Ashley, is there anything in particular that we want to go through here in terms of the report?
If you want to go to the second slide for our ridership in April, we are excited to say that as the capacity has been increased on our bus, in our bus service, that our ridership is actually going up. So last month, for about half the month of March, we were already experiencing an increase, and now we are looking at the first full month of ridership, which is at a 20%, a 27% increase over what was year-over-year change. Our 7 to 4 site on the dot service is running at 29 passengers per hour, which is above our KPI. Our 14 hour part is at 15.2, which is about to meet our KPI. I'd like to see it get back up to 18 in the next couple of months. A lot of our routes are holding steady between 10 and 13 to 14 passengers per hour. And we're still seeing those numbers increase month over month. If the first week of June is approved, we'll probably run a report for the next month just to show how that 4 days will bump those numbers up even more. and what we can do for tri-transit. And then we do still have a few underperforming routes that, as part of our service reliability upcoming in July, we'll be further looking at for time point adjustments and things that we can do to try to mitigate that and get those numbers up a little bit better. We will continue to look at, probably start looking at load capacity and a few other things, just as when we are still in modified services. So if we have certain sections and certain routes at certain times of day, at peak and on meeting loads, then we want to see what we can do to try to help along with some of those things. You can skip over the next slide because most of those items are all action items for this month. The next slide will be our fixed route public meeting, which will be next week on Wednesday, May 18th at 5:30 p.m. I know that last month you asked about a public meeting and whether we would be having one. And as we've been working through our service and scheduling for reliability, we ultimately decided that we needed to get back into hosting meetings more in person and do so on a regular basis. So this will be the first two. We will have one in May as well as one in June. And we will be going over each of the potential route changes that could happen in July. Right now, we're reasonably looking at minor service changes, not anything very major in either routing or timing. We are right now trying to look at timing adjustments for the most part. I'd love to see you guys there if you have time.
Yeah, that's something we should get.
It is next Wednesday at the ITC at 5:30 p.m. It'll probably go for about 30 minutes or so. One thing we try to do is we want to make sure that we have ample opportunity for public comment. So we will have notice in the paper. It should be, I think it'll hit the paper on Friday. Our media release will be going out sometime later this afternoon, and then we'll have a bit of social media to remind people that there is an upcoming meeting.
Will I get a text message?
Only if you're signed up for the text.
I know. I've said that.
Actually, all of this.
It is.
And it's social media person. Yeah, I'll send that in text, or
I
sorry,
shared
I will send out a text notification.
I shared it on Facebook. Do I get a point? Good work.
We do want to have, we do want people to comment, so things that they see and things that they think that could be better, and we'd like to know just about anything that anybody wants to say about any of our routes in our service.
Sometimes that's a really good question for people to try to like wrap their heads around.
I know.
And if there are any maybe talking points to give us board members to help, that we can maybe let people know what kind of information you guys are looking for. Because one question I've got is this meeting about the changes coming in July, or is it about just feedback from anywhere, anybody, anytime, or is it both?
Well, what kind of happens when we provide this type of opportunity, which is something that I think has been really lacking with COVID, and we're expecting to hear a lot more in-depth comment than we might have in the past, simply because as these types of meetings become more routine, everybody will have had a chance to come and let us know. Our communications team will also be tracking these kind of things for us, the customer service as well. So as we work through all of 2022, we want to be able to give it is a little of both. And for this first one, it'll be interesting to see if people just want to talk about the service in general, but we will make sure that we're going to mention what these minor adjustments might be for July.
But at this meeting and the one in June, will there be any kind of details as to what the changes in July might be? Where, when, stuff like that? Yeah.
So and that's something that if you guys are looking for, sort of like I could do in a paragraph form in a small detail. We kind of already have staff. Right now, our staff is working on the statistical analysis so that we can get some numbers crunched this week. And then we'll be working through finalizing what those statistics will be. And that's also to accommodate our fiscal year 23 budget. So we want to make sure that we're getting our numbers up front for the new year so that we can calculate everything accordingly. I don't see surprises. Well, we also for service, we are short staffed, and that is kind of a standard reality for us right now. So we want to try to make sure we can do what we can so that we are putting the best route options out there to fulfill our service in the best way that we can.
In previous public meetings that we had years ago now, I was always impressed with how helpful it was to just tell people the situation and like, here's what we're working with, and here's what we can provide. And most of the time, people were extraordinarily flexible, more so than I ever expected. Everybody's like, frustrated. Everybody's frustrated, but it was pretty. It was very. It was helpful to see that. I think just if we just tell people, hey, we're dealing with less people than we need, we're trying to put the same people around, and so hence this is what I do think what everybody wants is consistency. So if what happens in July helps us get closer to that, I think that'll be very
Actually, thank you for that update. Communications update. Talk about the April activities.
Only if y'all have any questions.
Where are you in Dixon?
Here it is. Here, why don't you just walk through and just top ones?
People did some public outreach, attended the Savannah Technical College Student Resource Fair. People from gift bags to accountability, who gave us the customers for National Public Health Week information, give us for customers. Disabilities. Of course, we had the electric bus launch, which was great. Very successful, a lot of good crowd, a lot of attention, media attention was all in from that. And of course, we had a successful deployment of buses. That's important. They got the newsletters, the internal newsletters, covered an employee appreciation picnic, which was nice. The first time we don't do that in a while now. Person, just kind of meet each other in a non-working kind of atmosphere. So we also have the external newsletters as well, the Outbound Express, covered the electric vehicle launch, continue to promote the career opportunities we have, meetings, the St. Patrick's Day Parade and our participation in that. Our employee text and customer text notification service, we had an increase for employees as far as subscribers and customers, although that's not as high as I'd like, but I think once we get that new app going, I think that text notification service is going to increase sharply.
What's the new app?
Working on a new app basically that will allow customers to text this number. They'll get a notification of how far away the bus is, how long it's going to take to get to their stop. We'll also be able to track where the bus is.
I do think the texting is one of the best ways to get updates about CAT by far.
The text service we have now is just kind of the first phase of the text notification. real-time location of the buses.
So I'll let this down too, but we should definitely talk about the text message thing at the public meeting, because I feel like if we have 230, 240, 280 customers, that's such, it's so direct. It's so direct. It's very much. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, that's my understanding, that's gonna be launched pretty soon.
Cool.
Great thing for our customers. Continue selling their, people keep on embracing our mobile tickets. We had 4,000 digital passes, now to 18,000 for sales.
Also on that one, would it be possible to see that more in context in terms of, is that growing year over year? And what is that in terms of percentage of overall tickets? What kind of people, or what kind of tickets are people buying on these? I feel like we could mine a lot of information off there. Or you want an iPhone or Android phone? Where you buying tickets?
Yeah, the last time you asked me about it, we were about 10% of ticket sales.
Okay.
A couple months ago. But yeah, that could definitely happen.
It'd be interesting to see if you buy a ticket, do you use it within 48 hours, or people are buying tickets to use for, I feel like there's a lot of interesting behavioral stuff we can get out there. There's good or good.
The rest of the report just lists all the media coverage we've got on a lot of the events we cover whenever and our social media statistics continue to grow. And Cat Goes Electric. Most popular that one.
Who bought those scissors?
Like the scissors.
Those scissors were great.
Nice.
I think we were on the shot by how well they got.
Somebody used them a little too early.
That was necessary. It was just, no,
Okay,
but it was not.
we gotta get you out of that.
No, I was doing the countdown, but I just.
She really cut him to be even better than one.
It is, it just showed the eager excitement.
That was a really great event. I just wanted to commend you all. That was very cool. Very fun. Yeah.
It was quite spectacular.
And those customers so quiet.
They are quiet, but that, I was gonna say the better part is that they're out.
Yeah, nice to get them out. So, that was a good time. Very cool. Thank you.
Under old new business, the Director's Digest Q&A, that's now a standard part of the package that you get. We did not have any questions from the last meeting. Typically, that's where we will publish them there and make sure that you get the answer and follow up that you might ask for. And then under other committee business, this is just again to let you know what's going on in the other committees, in case you want to attend those or have a question about this that we can get to you prior to. So there's a governance calendar for the first half of FY 2023. Our public transportation agency safety plan revisions that Patrick Fahey has been leading for us. Employee group health insurance renewal, and that actually we're still pending receipt of proposals on that with our carriers. And then the last is an executive leadership recruitment contract. This is for the COO position. One of the things that we was really highly recommended to us is that on the COO position, really critical to mine deeply in the transit community for deeply experienced COOs would be critical for our success. And so we are, Mr. Dukes, of course, is still serving as interim right now, but we are going to be using the firm that proposed lowest fee to help support us in what will be a really critically essential position hire. And with that, that's all of the items in other committee business. Are there any other questions that we can answer for you?
That's a question for. Where are we on?
I sent an email out. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I sent an email out last week that responded to Mr. Cates. and indicated that both the FTA federal regulations as well as our coordination with FTA, particularly on hovercraft, that we did not believe that we were a well-suited opportunity for him. And for that particular business proposition, we encouraged him to continue to explore that, obviously, in the private sector. But we went through some explanation, but there was an email that went out to the board. Beverly, you have that?
Mhm.
So, but we'll get you a copy of it while you're here, so I have not heard anything, further back from him, but pointed out, and they're the issues that I think that you already all know about with regard to ADA and Title VI, equity, how you set figures, all those kinds of things that were just, the proposal was really quite inconsistent with what we do. And I think this is probably the most important point of all, as I expressed to him, that our very singular focus right now is on CAT's essential services. Our current transit bus service, our ferry service, and our master transit plan that we're about to kick off. Those are just, that's our bread and butter that we've got to focus on and do exceptionally well before we think about any other kinds of things that are out there. So that's the answer. All right, any other questions? If not, Jim, I'll go ahead to you.
Great meeting, we're adjourned.
It's good to see you.